Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you guys could join us once again. For those tuning in on the simulcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X, we're glad you all can be with us. And welcome in our friends over on IG so they can be a part of our conversation. And last but certainly not least, going to connect with our friends over on Amazon. I have a very special guest that's joining us today. He has a new book that's out. We're going to talk to him not only about the book, but also about what it's been like for him to find a profession, was able to not only to cater to the needs of his clients, but also to show some great qualities along the way. And we're now live on Amazon Live with Cyrus Webb Presents. If you guys are new to us on the Amazon platform, welcome. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button, either here in this corner or down below. You also will see the new book by our next guest. We're excited to welcome Master Stylist. We also have educator and coach Tim Johnson joining us today. Tim is the author of the book you guys can see here, and that is If Hair Could Talk. We're going to talk to Tim not only about the writing of the book, but what it's been like for him to share the lessons that he's been able to learn that can benefit all of us, no matter what our professions may be. Tim, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Cyrus, for having me. I'm so honored and I'm excited, man.
Well, look, we're glad to have you on. I had a chance to read the book myself. I have the print edition here. For audience joining us on Amazon, you guys can also see where you can get the Kindle edition as well to go ahead and start reading it today. So, Tim, people have gotten to know you, as I mentioned by the titles, Master Stylist, Educator, Coach. What has it been like for you now to embrace the new title of author and to see the response to the book?
Well, to be honest with you, it's really, I'm excited, man. I'm just really excited. Doors have opened for me that it gives me an opportunity to serve the community and serve people in a different way from the title of being an author. This is brand new. It's a brand new world for me, but I'm excited about it, man. It's super for me.
So have you always known that the lessons you have learned, Tim, are things that you did want to be able to share in a book and kind of share with people, as I mentioned in my introduction, that it really goes beyond a profession. It really goes to a way of life?
Yes, it has something. People have always been curious about that thing that happens in a styling chair. You know, we are all considered as people's chairside therapists. You know, so the something happens when people sit in the chair. They just begin to, we call it, let their hair down. So when they let their hair down, they become the real them, because you get to see them beyond what they have dressed up for the world to see. That it could be a wig or a hat, it could be a necktie or a suit, no matter what it is. But that thing that happens when their hair lets down, that allows them to be more vulnerable. It allows them to be themselves. So that magic behind it, I knew that something was happening, and it's actually my calling. You know, I look at it from the standpoint of, you know, it's like a therapist that is not in the office. Instead of the big long black sofa, it's the black styling chair. You know.
Love that. Love that. That reminds me of something in the book. I want to ask you more about that, Tim. I want to say hello to you, Miss Fi over there on IG. Angela Anderson, hello to you, joining us over there on IG as well. She says congratulations to you, Tim. And also, K-Sue, hello to you over there on IG as well. You mentioned something that reminds me of what you wrote in the book, Tim, and that is for those who are going into the profession of being a stylist, whatever that may be, that if you're only doing it for that, you've already lost. Talk to us about that. When did you realize that it was more than just a profession, that it really was a way of connecting with others and also providing more of a service beyond what they actually got in the chair?
It's equivalent to, thank you for asking that too, Cyrus. It's equivalent to you going to a doctor and they have no chairside mannerism. Okay. Mm-hmm. Just because they're a doctor and they know the facts doesn't mean that they can be able to touch your life. Okay. Anytime you're dealing with someone from the neck up, you have to be able to serve them with more than just a beautiful style. What if you know, an image is more than what's on their head. Image has to deal with how they show up in life. Showing up in life is not when you just present them after they're finished with you, but what they're presenting to you when they come in to see you. Okay. And how is it that we can be gracious enough and be sensitive enough to be able to see more than what they're getting, because they'll give you pictures of what they see other people appear like, and they want to look like them. But what is it that they carry within themselves? What are they carrying in themselves, number one? And how do I be able to help them translate that from what I'm hearing them say? So you want to make money doing hair, but are you able to touch someone's life where they can actually communicate with you in such a manner, in such a way that they may be confused with what they come in looking like or what they should look like, or, you know, so I want to be able to hear their life, and that hair talks to me. Especially it can show it up in being tangled up or matted or, you know, unclear. You're covering it up with something that you just snatched off the counter, you know, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And I think it goes to the actual title of the book here, Tim, if hair could talk, because I think you just said something too. As someone who's for the past 30 years, I've always worn my hair cut short because it's just easier for me
Hmm.
with life just to keep it this way. I've had the same hairstyle, but you're right. You do get to learn about the personality of the person, more about themselves. So I want to ask you the other side of that, Tim. What has it been like for you to help people feel seen by
Hmm.
what you do with them in the chair and how you speak to them in the chair?
It's very fulfilling, Cyrus. It's very fulfilling because of the fact that I believe that more importantly than just developing a skill to be able to do the hair, I think the development of how to hear and how and developing a gift of what like drawing a picture, perfect art, drawing a picture of what this person needs to be cast into society looking like, as along with their sound. If I may, like you said about you've been wearing the same style for about 30 years. What's more important about you is your voice and your expertise. So your hair does not need to get in the way of what you're being able to clarify with what you're saying. Okay. So that discovery is very settled and it is very subtle, but people can hear the magnification of what you carry, which is your expertise of what you're saying. So when a client, be it if a barber is serving a client or a stylist is serving a client, it is extremely important that we be able to discover that, and then at the same time help them with the gift of being able to help them to sit confidently, because that mirror coming from the stylist mirror or coming from a home mirror is a mentor,
Yeah.
and if you listen, it's telling you and teaching you something. Okay, so you got to have someone to be able to translate what that is saying, and that's what I do from If Hair Could Talk.
Love that. Love that. Hello to you, Ellen Sutter. It's good to be able to see you. Ellen says doing hair is so therapeutic, especially. So that leads us into this question then, based on Ellen's comment there, Tim. When did you know that this was a gift that you had? Because it really has to be a gift to be able to not only to do it well, but also to get so much out of it. When did that become clear for you, Tim?
During the transformation, I'm more transformation driven than anything else. But when it became clear to me is whenever I started to see tears. When I started to see tears at the completion of the service, or whenever they would return with tears, or when they would call me or send me pictures or videos of what people said to seeing them, or whenever, and it was more than a style, just what they look like. Whenever people started saying stuff to me like, I show up different at the office now. you know my voice became more amplified whenever I was able to connect my image with my sound or with my expertise, so helping them translate that, and then they begin to open up more, in which they were able, that confidence helped them to see life differently as well. And this is not just with women, this is with men, and I coach and I develop stylists and barbers, as well as industry individuals, whatever industry they're in, on how to discover that in regards to identity as well.
When you were talking, you reminded me of something you wrote in chapter 2 of the book, Tim. I'm going to read it because I think it's really interesting the way you put this, and we can talk a little bit about it. You say this, and when speaking to the reader, if you feel invisible right now in your career, it's not because you're not good enough, it's because you haven't been seen. And sometimes that's because you haven't discovered yourself yet. And then you say this, and I thought this was really interesting. You say, if you've been in the industry 1 or 2 years and still feel stuck, it's not because of bad luck. It's because you've never been trained how to position your greatness. You're winging it. You're freestyling your future. Talent without direction is noise. I want to talk about that because it's one thing for you have to have discovered, as you mentioned, when you saw the transformation in others. When did you know that you could use what you had learned, Tim, to pour into others and help them be able to experience that too?
Well, one of the main things that this is very pivotal that you brought that up, and I'm so glad that you did, because I actually had it highlighted that I wanted to talk about that too. Was one of the things I had a challenge with myself. I knew that I carried something that was super dynamic myself, but how do I show up confidently, showing that out? So with me having that as a challenge, I knew that in the salon, I noticed that as I began to speak to clients, because I'm a strong believer that you attract the type of client that you are. So as I began to notice that I had clients that were amazing people, but they had not yet discovered what was amazing about them. They had not become aware on how to tap into that, to be able to cast that to society so that they could show up in their best image, not just with a hairstyle, but with what they carry. And then I noticed that as I was speaking to barbers and stylists, because I'm an internationally world-class stylist, international world-class stylist that I train and I coach and I develop stylists as well as, other industry individuals. But if you're not aware of what you're carrying, you're not going to be able to show that forth with your sound and with your message. So in the chair, they would do a thing called unpacking. In life coaching or in therapy, that's what happens. We unpack things that actually cause them to want to be seen something different than what they are, or they don't know how they should be seen or how they should show up. So once that happens, I became aware of the fact that I'm actually helping people to have a breakthrough with what they are not seeing. So the number one was the discovery of it. Number two was becoming aware of it. And after they became aware of it, number three, they were able to be confident and bold and courageous enough to be able to cast that. So if Hair Could Talk is not just a style guide or from a stylist point of view, but it's actually self-mastery and life mastery from that standpoint, how to own your greatness.
Let's talk more about the life mastery part. And you're very personal in this book as well, Tim. You say this after talking about what you have been able to build for yourself. You say, I had helped other brands build empires, but I wasn't pushing my own. I had an entire line but wasn't selling it. Here's the truth. If you've got a product and you're not selling it, it's not because people don't want it. It's because you haven't committed. That's right. You have not committed to promoting it, committed to packaging it right, or committed to believing it in the same way you believe in everybody else's. Your product can't speak until you do, and the world won't buy in until you show up. What helped you to show up, Tim? Because there are people out there watching this that may have business ideas. They may have things they want to do. They may have started the process, but they're not getting anywhere with it. What helped you to get to a place where you didn't just create, but then move forward with whatever you had created?
I learned how to value my voice and to value my creation, what I would create. I am a creative. And I began to, I had to, number one, I had to get rid of the noise. I had to come away. I had to come away from social media. I had to get away from the crowd and the crew. I had to, and I'm a strong believer, in order for you to discover your own circle, you have got to get out of the box. I'm a strong believer in that. And I did not know that I was boxing in myself. And honestly, I'm gonna be as vulnerable as I can, Cyrus. I had a challenge with imposter syndrome. I knew how to create these things, and I loved the way it looked, and I loved the way it felt. I loved the way it would make people feel. But then I would overthink it right before I would cast it to society, or I would cast it out there. And I would look at it, and I'm one of those type of people, like even with my book cover, the book that you're sitting there, I have to be careful because I go into tears because I saw that before I actually had my designer to create it. I knew exactly what I wanted it to look like. Even at the completion of this book, I knew that it came out of my soul. It came out of my heart, what I created it. But whenever it was time for me to go ahead and press the button, to mash the button, press the button, publish, I was having these challenges like, is it enough? Do I need to change it up? Do I need to redo something? So that discovery that I was enough, it was enough. I had to get rid of the noise of it. I am really an authentic creative, and people who create it from an entrepreneur standpoint, or they have the answers. The biggest challenge that I've noticed that they have is sitting on their hands and suppressing their greatness or their sound. I had a challenge right before I came live with you today. What would my sound like on your platform? I know everything about Cyrus Webb. I did my homework of you, and I had to figure out how can I serve your audience the best with what I had. So these are challenges that I help people face in this book, step by step. And I received my breakthrough by doing the internal self-mastery work myself. I'm not just one of these people that wanted to come and just present you something that I created and then turn around and say, hey, look, make them buy it. I'm not that type of person. If I'm cooking it, I want the best ingredients, and I want it to be authentic and from my heart.
love that. And it's a great reminder, I think, for all of us, again, regardless of our profession. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, welcome. You're watching Cyrus Webb Presents. We're on Amazon Live, but we are simulcasting on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and on Instagram. Tim Johnson is our guest today. He's a master stylist, he's an educator, a coach, but also the author of the book you guys can see there, If Hair Could Talk. We're going to remind you he can stay connected with Tim as well. I want to ask you, Tim, about something that may seem like an odd question, but based on what you just said and what we learned about you in the book, people wouldn't look at you and think you've had the challenges that you've had when it comes to believing that you are enough, believing that what you do is enough. When did you get to a place, Tim, that you could look at yourself in the mirror and honestly say, I am proud of me?
Well, I got fed up with the personal fight and struggle at home whenever I didn't give it my all.
Mm-hmm.
I am an only child, single parent raised kid who was gifted and talented from childhood, but the struggle with comparison it was a big deal. But whenever I didn't give it my all, if I had the answer, but I wouldn't open my mouth, or if I had the strategy, but I wouldn't offer it. I got tired of that when I got home, and I would practice at home. I would practice these answers with you before I presented it. Before I opened up on a stage, I would practice backstage. I would go in my backyard, and I got a privacy backyard. I would go out there and I would walk it before I would do it. The importance of showing up great to yourself, that whenever someone said that was awesome, I had to meditate and marinate on that and say it to myself before I heard you say it. So doing the internal work and really working on it and amplifying my sound inside of my head, amplifying that I am enough, that this is good enough, and also to the importance of coaching. I'm a strong believer in coaching and development. I took it a step further. Instead of me just offering good advice to my clients and sharing with my clients and pushing them beyond, the ledge and saying, go on and jump, you'll discover that you can fly as you're in the air. I took it, beyond that, and I became a certified life coach. So the importance of what I offer to people, I wanted to make sure that I was offering authentic, but at the same token, well-structured, sound advice. And, I'm not telling people what to do. I'm actually walking alongside them and helping them discover what I'm saying I want to do. And then let's set some boundaries, and let's set some standards for how we're going to authentically make this happen. That's what I wanted to cast in If Hair Could Talk, but it's from a hairstylist standpoint. And I knew that I had something authentic, and I knew that it was going to do what it's doing now, but just believing enough in myself to go on and say that it's enough. Let's rock.
Do you find that with each new level you have that same type of belief that you have to build in yourself, Tim? Or do you feel as though for yourself, after you were able to remove the mental block, that it flowed more freely for you? And I'm asking for those people out there who may have gotten to a certain level in their life, right? And yet that next thing they're still not sure about. Did you find that it's a progression with each level, or what has been your experience?
Well, right now with my experience, and then also with what I coach my people on, is I turn it into value instead of a struggle.
Okay.
I coach them how to value that desire to want it to be better. And then what we do is we try to connect the balance of it needs to be better with it's enough. Because if you can be dealing with the challenge if it needs to be better, and you'll never cast it. You'll never cast it out there. You'll never throw it out there for it to be seen as valuable. And trusting that balance, trusting that fine line in between it, And right now I've sat with the quality of it. I call it a quality control, a quality evaluation before I send something out there, and then trust. I had to balance the trust because, I had to trust in God with all my heart, and lean not to my own understanding about how it was going to be accepted and how it was going to be received. So I trust God that, God, you gave this to me, and what you gave me, I did the best of my ability to to create what you gave to me. And now I'm going to call this complete, and I'm going to cast this by faith. And as I cast it out there, whoever it's meant for, they will read it, you know. And as they read it, they will experience the change. They will experience the sincerity of what I created. And right now, it's been doing a pretty good job. I got people who are actually giving me testimonies who are reading the book, who they were like, I just picked it up because of the title. And they really picked it up because of the title. I got people that are not even beauty industry. These are gentlemen who are leaders in corporate America. They have no desire to be in the industry or know anything about it. And they're like, I couldn't put the book down.
Yeah. I love that. And Angela says, yes, the importance of showing up for yourself. And it definitely is important. Last thing I wanted to mention from the book, Tim, though, is you have a subheading in chapter 4, burnout is not branding. And I just want to read one part of this because I think for a lot of people, this will really hit home for them. You say, burnout is not a badge of honor. It is not proof of greatness, and it sure is not part of your brand. And then you go on to give an important lesson of yourself. But you say this: success at the cost of your peace is not success. It's slavery dressed up in applause. So I want to ask the Tim Johnson of 2025, how has your idea of success changed at this point?
Oh, I love this. Cyrus, you're amazing at your interview questions. I have learned the power of sleep, rest, and relaxation.
Hmm.
I have learned the power of setting boundaries and honoring them. I have learned the power of having standards and staying true to them. I have learned that enough is enough. Okay. You're looking at a over 3 decade hair industry veteran. I know about coming in at 6 and 7 in the morning and staying on your feet until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, falling asleep in the salon, sometimes sleeping on the floor. Why? Not because some of it was greed, some of it was the need to give people, because you're dealing with a demand that you don't know how to navigate, dealing with a demand that you don't know how to steer.
Yeah.
And it's equivalent to a mega star, Michael Jackson, or people who are in demand, and you're not knowing how to pull away and say, no, I'm not doing that concert. I'm not showing up for that interview. No, don't even schedule me for it. So I've learned how the power of setting boundaries, and seeing your health decline, seeing weight gain, seeing your emotional stability being challenged, and your mental capacity not being able to show up as your best you know, and then not even knowing who you are. Sometimes you come to the conclusion that I don't even know who I am right now. You know, I've learned that. So dealing with people that are my type of client, when I say my type of client, people who come in who respect and honor now what I serve and what I give, they value that. Nothing can compete.
Love that. I say on this program all the time, Tim, I've learned success is personal.
It is.
And I think, for so many people, they try to, say there's, look at someone else's quote unquote success and want that, when a lot of times that's not even for us. And so I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Angela says, talk about a wow factor moment in that statement that burnout is not a badge of honor. I do have a question from IG though for you, Tim. How would you redirect a person who thinks their business must work like others as opposed to their own uniqueness? I like that.
Okay. You'll never go as far as them. And when they're played out, you've already played out because you're doing a copycat. You got to be authentic. You're going to have to find out what is authentic about me. And then if you're inspired by something else that you've seen someone else, how do you become innovative? What is it that I can do? What's next? You got to honestly always ask the question, what's next?
Right.
And you can't be them. You can't be them because that you don't know their story and their journey when they discovered that what they were doing was the next. Okay. So you're going to have to do some homework and discover it within yourself. What is it that I carry? And, I always knew that what I carried was not to be like someone else. I'm inspired by the sound of someone. I'm inspired by the performance of someone. But God, what is it that you have in me that you want me to cast to this next generation and to this time?
Love Love that. Again, everyone, Tim Johnson has been our guest. Great conversation with you, Tim. Again, the book here is If Hair Could Talk here on Amazon. You all can get your copy either in print or the Kindle edition. The subtitle of the book is A Soul-Stirring Journey Through Beauty, Identity, and Purpose. We've been leaning heavy on the purpose in this conversation, so make sure you guys get your own copy. Tim, how can our audience stay connected with you?
Hey, visit me on everything Tim Johnson International. Also, my website is Tim Johnson International. Also, TimJohnsonAcademy.com. And hey, I'm on it, man. That's it.
Look, I appreciate you, Tim. Congratulations to you again on the book and on the platform. And looking forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you, Cyrus. I appreciate you having me.
Hey, glad to do it. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, y'all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.